This is The Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel. What they gonna say next?
Yes, this is The Basketball Show. It's all thanks to TCL Mobile, 2K23 and UPCOZ. I'm Joe Healy alongside Matty Logue this week. Matty, what's cracking?
Oh, plenty happening in basketball, Joe. On and off the court. Been a big week.
It has indeed. Love that you're keeping the seat warm for Hammer, my usual partner in crime who joins us from Melbourne at the moment. Hammer, down there with the Flames for some pre-season games. How's it all going?
I've got FOMO. I see you guys in the studio. I'm missing you already. Wish I was there, but we've got a couple of pre-season games against the Melbourne teams for the Sydney Flames. So looking forward to testing our girls out.
Yeah, got it, get it done. Now I know coaching duty beckons and you don't have a lot of time, so let's get straight into it with In the Spotlight. Hammer, we spoke last week on the show about the fact that teams' cap spending and the salaries of the top 14 players was leaked to the media. It feels like it's been a bit of a mixed reaction. What have you been hearing? What are people talking about to you about this?
Well, it really has been mixed because people put their perspective forward based on where they sit. And I guess we've been pushing for a couple of years now from a fan's perspective, because I think that's the important thing. As fans, we want to know what the collective spend is for teams. And we can judge general managers and clubs about what sort of value they get for what they spend. And if a team like Cairns is down the bottom and Perth's way at the top, then you can put that in perspective as their results come to the front as well. But certainly been a mixture of what other people have said. And a lot of it's based about the Players Association really don't want to be giving the numbers out. They want to protect the privacy of the players.
Yeah, so that was the quote from the Players Association condemning the fact that the player salaries were put out there. It feels like a step in the right direction in terms of team spend. Obviously, we want the full team spend as opposed to, as you mentioned, Hammer, with the sort of differences in marquees and Asian players. Things would look very different in terms of that list of who is spending what. Matty, you've been behind this story. What's been the feedback from your point of view?
Yeah, similar to what Shane's saying, has been frustration from fans because they want more information. The reality is it was a leak report, and what we had, if we had more information, then it would have been included. But because, as Shane said, this has been such a firmly kept secret in the NBL for a long time, that it won't change unless the Players Association change their stance. And I think Shane's right. I think if we can get the total team spends, we'll have more clarity on the numbers that we've received. It's a good start, but fans want to know exactly like where it stands and the perspective of things, and that couldn't be done with the numbers that we had, but it's a starting point. And as for salaries, well, that's another point that, players don't want it, but my understanding is, Shane and Joe, that the NBL would like to see it, but again, it's the Players Association that are balking.
Hammer, what about from a team point of view and also the NBL? What have they said in terms of what they're happy to have out there? Are they happy to have their full team spend, but perhaps not the salaries?
Well, I haven't heard anything. I haven't spoken to any teams or the league about this, but, I keep coming back to a fan. And I think that's the most important thing, because at the end of the day, they pay a lot of bills with bums on seats and watching for the TV rights. And, I just think it's a good conversation. A lot of people have shot holes in it the other day by saying, oh, well, that's not a real number that Matt put out and News Corp put out. But it's a pretty good idea knowing that all clubs run with the same rules. If you've got more money to spend on a marquee player and the league props up players for the next star program as well, everybody has the right to be able to go and make that happen. And if we got a total team spend from the league and also from the teams, I just think it provides great perspective.
Yeah, no doubt. As we said, it's a step in the right direction. Hopefully we can continue to talk about this and make progress as we go. Let's get into our TCL starting five now. We've got plenty to get through. All right, Hammer, we've got to talk about Melbourne United. They are a team under pressure. Another loss to the Kings yesterday, and it kind of felt like it reached boiling point when Dean Bickerman called out Jordan Caroline in his press conference. Before I get your opinion on it, let's see what he had to say.
The games that we've won the boards, we've won the game kind of thing, and we just haven't been able to compete in that area or have another threat. Certainly running at the rim and finishing. I thought the shots JC had tonight was like, we were talking in the locker room, it's like, wow, if Jack White had every one of those kind of catches where he caught it and those takes at the rim and just we were able to finish it, there were 11 kind of good shots. But he just hasn't been able to finish some of those over the length of people in this league.
What do you make of that?
Dean Vickerman is a high character coach and a high character person, and that will be a press conference that he will probably want back. I think his frustration about where they're at, the balance of their imports, losing Haporti, he's probably just been a little bit honest about the way he felt. And he's thrown his player under the bus. And it's really not the way Dean Vickerman has been over his whole career. But I think there'd be as much frustration with Rattan Mays. I questioned this combination of imports when they first got them, and Tucker thinks he's the best import in the league. He's not in the best 10 imports right now on what he's showing. Imagine this team with Walton Jr. That's the sort of point guard I think they need to be able to go to the next level, but they're going to get a big instead.
Well, DJ Vasiljevic tweeted, I'll just read it out to you. He said, honestly, I feel bad for Jordan Caroline. Here it is. He understands he's under pressure, but for a coach to come out and publicly throw him under the bus is not it. I'd comment more, but I'll leave it at that. It kind of gives you Doc Rivers, Ben Simmons vibes. As you say, Melbourne United would not have wanted to be in this position. They wouldn't have thought that they would. Jordan Caroline has been playing out of position sort of to a point because of what happened with Ariel. So whatever happens, it kind of seems inevitable that he won't be there, but they need to make some changes pretty quickly. Another team that are in trouble, Hammer, the Wildcats. They suffered a bloodbath at the hands of Tassie over the weekend. Is their situation quite as drastic though?
No, I'm not sure they are in trouble, but it's a little flick on the nose for them to say, hey, it's not quite what we thought it was going to be at the moment. They've got question marks around two of their imports. They also know that Bryce Cotton at any time could get his citizenship, so there could be another import spot up their sleeve. So they're not going to be in a hurry. They're also 3-2, but they're certainly playing some average basketball on their standards of what we expect to do. But let's not take away from the Jack Jumpers as well. They've been absolutely incredible this year. And I sit back and I barrack for the Jack Jumpers in every single game they're playing when they're not playing the Kings.
Yeah, they're fun to watch, that's for sure. Hey, Scott Roth and JR had some words after the game. Have you got any idea or can you sort of come up with a scenario in terms of what they would have been talking about?
Well, it looked a little bit animated. So, I couldn't believe that they actually left the conversation. I wanted to see how that unfolded. Both, coaches are really passionate about their teams and, hopefully that comes out so we can assess it a little bit more. But it was pretty full on.
I was right there waiting to do a post-game interview and I was trying really hard to eavesdrop. I was, but the stadium is so loud down there, it wasn't to be. But, we might find out in time. You mentioned the Sydney Kings, 15 straight road wins. Who can stop them?
Well, this is incredible. It really is incredible. We know that teams can stop them. They're not unbeatable. They've lost 2 games already at home. But for any sporting franchise, not just basketball, not just the NBL, not the NBA or Euro League, but you think of the AFL or rugby league or soccer or any of these other sports, to win 15 games on the road is an incredible feat. And the NBL is a real even competition with the salary cap the way it is and everything else, is that it's a credit to them that they can continually come up and string this many wins together.
Hey, just on the road wins, I think there have literally been 3 or 4 home wins from teams all this season. Do you read into that? What is it about teams in the NBL at the moment on the road?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. I mean, I think it's great for the league because there's so many sports, like I just mentioned, that dominate at home. So to string 15 games in a row on the road is incredible. But it shows that even teams coming in to another team's venue, they're not scared. They believe they can get it done. They're watching other teams do it. So I think from a fan and a viewer's point of view, I think it's a great thing.
The 36ers got their first road win over the Kings on Friday night. They're building, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They had a lot of people when they came back from winning that big game against the Phoenix Suns and came back and dropped one to Tassie at home. You know, it was almost like people with the tall poppy. They took pride in being able to put the boots in and saying they're not going to be as good as what people think. But I think this team's going to continue to grow. They've got a lot of talent. You know, they're going to have some lumps at different stages. I think their point guard, as talented as he is, he's going to have some ups and downs emotionally, and that's going to hurt their team. But gee, I tell you, they've got the best import combination in the league. They can defend, they can score, they've got depth. They're going to be tough. They're a top 3 team. There's no doubt about that.
We've got CJ Bruton on the show in a little while, Hammer, so we'll speak to him a little more about the 36ers. Now, you've gotten into the rundown here somehow from Melbourne and written Tassie singlet fiasco as our 5th point in our TCL starting 5. What on earth are you talking about?
Well, Jojo, I've been on a mission now for 6 years for middle-aged guys, and I don't know how old these guys are. But we sent you down there for the NBL to take care of this, and this is what happens on your clock. Guys need to wear T-shirts underneath. Now, the guy on the right, he's got a fair excuse because he's got some massive guns there that he's trying to advertise. The guy on the left, even more reason why you need to be throwing a T-shirt on, pal. Hide those arms.
What is wrong with a bit of a gun show, Hammer? Come on.
No, again, middle-aged guys, I don't know how old those guys are, but you've got to wear a T-shirt underneath. And there's a lot of fans that agree with me because often I got this sent from a fan, and we want all of the basketball show fans to keep an eye out. If you see somebody that you think needs to be called out because, we're on a mission.
Nah, speak for yourself.
You
I'm here
don't
for the gun
seriously
show.
like that, do you?
Hey, I know you're short of time, so we'll leave you to it. But good luck with the pre-season games with the Flames, and we'll see you back here next week.
Have a good one, gang. Thanks.
Breaking all the big news in basketball with Matt Logue.
Well, it's time for the Logue Down this week. Maddie, we've talked a lot about Melbourne United on the show already. We know that they're looking to bring in reinforcements. What are some of the names that have been thrown around?
Will be interesting for fans. Jabari Parker, former Buck, spent a little bit of time with the Boston Celtics recently in training camp.
He was number 2 pick in the draft, 2014, I reckon.
I think that's right. It hasn't quite lived up to, but at the end of the day, Melbourne United need a big guy, and he'll come in and do that. The other one's Michael Beasley. He recently got cut from in China. He's played with Miami Heat, most recently the LA Lakers. So, I think ideally United needs someone of that ilk, that experience, that can come in and do a job and finish off like Dean's, really pleading. So watch this space because they need it. Like, I don't see Jordan Caroline lasting too much longer. Well.
No, they'll want to make some changes pretty soon, especially with the condensed season, the fact that we're almost a quarter through. It's crazy already. The Bullets, they are playing against the Hawks tonight.
Yeah.
It's no secret that this really is a must-win game for them.
Oh yeah, the word coming out of the Bullets, they go 0-6. It's pretty much untenable, and I think the owners are keeping a very close eye on the situation. It's a shame because we see here against the Phoenix, like they easily could have won this game, and it's giving them a little bit of hope, a little bit of a gasp of air, but unfortunately it didn't go their way. And there's also a lot of off the court things. DJ Mitchell, he was a forward up there. He got sent home by James Duncan. He swore at James. He kicked a basketball. It didn't end well, and my understanding is there's been a little bit of discontent in the playing group dating back to the pre-season. It's really difficult for James to come in there and manage a squad with ex-NBA players like Tyler Johnson, and then you've got Bainesy, who'd have high expectations, and it just hasn't worked. And as Shane has rightly pointed out in the past, they're short of an import.
Let's hope for their sake that they can get the dub tonight and get things moving in the right direction at least. The Bullets are set to name their squad for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. Talk me through some of those names too. Yeah,
it's exciting for the Boomers. Obviously on the back of the bronze in Tokyo, everyone is excited and can't wait to see the Boomers play again. But this window will be interesting. Nick Kay will be captain, is my understanding. There'll be the likes of DJ at the Kings, Xavier Cooks. Watch out for Xavier. I think he's ready to impress in the green and gold, and I think he'll want to play at the World Cup next year. There'll be no Aaron Baines, no Keanu Pinder. But I raised this question, Joe. My understanding is Pinder didn't travel, to Pakistan just travelling, but he's in the mix, and if he keeps going the way he's playing, surely he'd be hard to leave out.
You think so? He's made some massive strides over the last couple of seasons, and you get the feeling that it would be really nice to reward him for that. So at some point, for sure. I think the I guess main point out of this is the Boomers squad and the depth is just getting better and better, and I think that is only a good thing for Australian basketball.
Massively, and that's a testament to the NBL. Like I think 2019 World Cup in China, there were 6 NBL players in a squad with NBA players. I'm expecting that to climb up a bit.
How good's the World Cup going to be in the Philippines next year?
Brilliant.
Absolutely bonkers. A bit like the MCG last night. Did you watch that? Insane.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're running out of time. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Well, Dee's in, as he is every week here. Let's go crystal gazing now. There's one more game to go this round. Of course, the Hawks hosting Brisbane tonight. The reversal is on Thursday, Brisbane taking on Illawarra at home. Dee, you're going to be courtside for that one, I believe. Who have you got?
I will, Joe, and I think the Bullets will celebrate their first home win of the season after knocking off these Illawarra Hawks. I've got the Hawks really struggling, Joe. They don't have their identity. They've yet to get that other player in, so we'll see how it goes.
Back-to-back for the Bullets. I like it. Maddie, Adelaide are hosting New Zealand next. What about that one?
Yeah, Adelaide at home, they should be way too strong. They were outstanding against the Kings, and it looks like they'll build some really scary momentum.
Perth had a bit of a slip-up, D, against Tassie over the weekend. They're taking on South East Melbourne, who seem to be finding some form. Who's your tip?
I got Perth having this one at home. John really showing a lot of energy on the sidelines. I played with him for 4 or 5 years, and I never saw this type of intensity. Great to see.
Maddie, Illawarra hosting Melbourne United, who we've been talking about all show. What about that one?
Yeah, it has to be United. They've got to hit back, even though it's away from home. They've just got to win.
Alrighty. Sydney hosting Cairns. We know what happened when Cairns were at Kudos Bank Arena last week. Derek?
Yeah, Cairns are playing much better on the road, but I just think Sydney are starting to find their flow together, and they'll be angry with that result a couple of Fridays ago. Sydney by double digits.
Maddie, next up, New Zealand hosting Tassie.
Tassie. I've been impressed by New Zealand, but Tassie, they're too tough, and they'll turn up and they'll win.
They're playing some really tough basketball right now, that's for sure. D, the Phoenix are hosting the 36ers.
Okay, so I think Southeast Melbourne are starting to find rhythm now that their players are coming back. They look really good in New Zealand, only so-so against Brisbane, but I think they're not good enough to beat Adelaide. Adelaide on the road, Joe.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. And Maddie, last up, United taking on Perth.
Perth, yeah. I think United will get that win earlier in the round, but yeah, I think Perth, they'll be keen to make amends and they'll be too good.
Let's see what changes United have made by then. Thanks, guys. Today we are going in depth thanks to 2K23. I'm pleased to say we've got 36ers coach CJ Bruton with us. CJ, thanks so much for being on the basketball show. You guys had a good win over the Kings in your last hit out. What was the reaction from that? What did you take from it?
That a win's a win. I think the way that game finished wasn't the ideal way of playing out, but what is in the game that's so meaningful and powerful. Every game is important. I was happy that the way that we came out with the intent to move the ball and to continue to attack and try and slow down the Kings, because they're the fastest paced team in the competition right now. And I thought we did that at the start and gave ourselves every chance to be successful.
CJ, Matty Logue here, mate. Congrats on the victory. It was a statement one. As a former King, mate, and your banner's there in the rafter, was it hard to just keep it inside yourself when during the week Paul Smith hailed the 36ers the Golden State Warriors? Was that difficult? No, let's be honest now.
To be honest with you, I didn't take. I took it like a grain of salt. We went over to United States to go and do something special, which I thought that this team could do, and we did that. And I know that for the world, it was a shock. For me, it wasn't a shock because I had already planned this before when I put this team together, and to come back and compete in the NBL competition, which is why we're here, was to give ourselves every chance to be successful. I'm grateful that Grant Kelly and Nick Barbato allowed us and Larry Kesselman to help us play those games in the United States. And now it's for us to show the signs of why just going on that trip was meaningful and powerful for not just us, for other teams to go in the future. But as for being the Golden State Warriors, it's about us getting better every single day and competing and finding out who we are. We've had a longer preseason than most because of the 2 weeks away. But then we also got the jet lag coming back. So there's a lot of other things that we're working through. And I know it's not easy, and I'm putting it on the players to keep picking it up and keep putting their best foot forward as we need to do, not only on the basketball court, but off the court as well.
CJ, you guys obviously recruited really well. You've got an incredibly talented roster. One question mark, I suppose, could be how you manage the big personalities in terms of coaching and people managing. How is the group coming together, and I guess have you had any challenges so far?
There's always challenges. I think that's the beauty of sport. I think if anyone tells you that they haven't had any challenges, then they're lying to you. This team is no different than any other team. And I think you look at Melbourne and you look at Brisbane and other teams and think that they're going through certain things and where they're at and their feelings. I have the same issues with my team, but I like to think that my group, they've responded well. And as I remind them, we're here to play a great brand of 36ers basketball, which includes all your skill sets and your talents. And when you're on the show, it's important that you put your best foot forward. Not everyone's going to play their best game. And I get it, doctors and lawyers are out there watching our games and expect you to play amazingly on the day, not knowing that you've been injured or you've been hurt. We don't air out all our issues and our problems before the game, but we go into the game with the mindset of here's the best way to win as a staff, and then we ask our players to play a certain way and do certain things on the floor that will hopefully give ourselves the best chance to be successful. Sometimes the players don't have to agree with that and don't agree with that. But when you're on the floor, if you don't show that you align with the philosophy, then clearly you're not going to get the best results out of yourself or from me.
CJ, obviously a bit of news during the week in NBL land around a leaked report with club spends and player wages. I'll start with club spends. Is that something that you'd personally like to see in the game for more transparency?
Andres used to speak about this a lot when I was in Brisbane and we were together there, and because we weren't one of the highest spending teams, and when you're not winning and you're one of the lowest spending teams, then and everyone expects high expectations. It really puts a lot of pressure on an organisation when you're not really in the picture, but you do punch above your weight. I thought we did an amazing job for a number of years while I was there with him. But as for does that go out, that's for the NBL and the higher powers to be to decide on that issue. That's not CJ Bruton's what's good. The NBA have certain things, and you can see it on Real GM or different platforms. Hoops Hype, if you want to find out players' salaries and things like that. But again, that's what one player is making. Does that make or break a team? Teams do certain things to make their team stand up and for their franchise, what they think is best. For us, I think my job is to really focus on my players that I've recruited here and making sure that they give everything that they've got, not only to our community. When we step on the floor and practice, are we getting the best out of each individual? Have you done enough work throughout the week to perform great and play great? All those little things that and recovery, you got to stay on top of all that as the weeks go on and their bodies and how much load they've got. So we manage all that sort of stuff. So I'm more focused on how much of that information gets out there more, which is better for us.
Fair enough. I guess on the flip side, CJ, during your glory years, you're one of the highest paid players in the NBL. To see the growth of the league, though, and now players are getting, at the top end, comparable salaries to NRL and AFL, and the salary cap's risen. How does that make you feel about the game?
First of all, I wasn't one of the highest paid players, and there's a window where I would have been up there with 2 or 3 during my prime. But if you go throughout my whole career, I guarantee you, I played to win. So this is where sacrificing and doing certain things for certain reasons, unless you can look at me because it's CJ Bruton, hey, he wore a headband and he had these flashy things. No, I had a sponsor that gave me some shoes, but I wasn't that highest guy. But I cared about my team's success, and I played my role. If I wanted money, I could have chased money. I chose not to chase money for certain reasons of I want to be known as a winner, and I want to be able to deliver in that space. And if you're going to be true to who you are, then you need to showcase that. As for the guys and getting paid the amount of money that they're paid today, I'm not against anything, because from my dad's generation to how it is today, this is the way the world works. Like, someone's going to miss out. Did I play in the wrong era? I believe I didn't. I was where I was meant to be. I would have liked to have played in this era. I like to think I could have done a whole lot more for the game, but also for CJ Bruton, but I'm not here for me. So ultimately, them getting the wages where they are and being able to be up there with other sports, I think hopefully it continues to grow for the players and for the league. I think it's a special time.
Hey CJ, I want to ask you about Kai Sotto. Obviously, some really passionate Filipino fans watching the 36ers very, very closely, to the point where you guys get criticised if you aren't running enough plays for him and things like that. How do you manage that and temper those expectations? Because obviously you want to keep people on side, but without obviously it impacting your game plan.
Definitely. Let's just say that from my time of signing with the 36ers, and I love Kai, and he's a special kid. He's got so many different. His skill set helps us, and while you haven't seen it a whole lot, I'm also playing to win games. I need to be successful. I want the city to be successful. I want Kai to keep improving, and I'm not here to hurt the kid. I've had enough death threats over my time being here, and again, I'm not here to cry and someone feels sorry for me, but I care for this kid getting better and improving to one day achieving his goal, which is ultimately playing in the NBA. Yes, you do need to take the floor and play a little bit more. I need him to keep impacting the 36ers the right way that I need for us to be successful, for him to keep growing. And I have more coaching staff with me this year to impact his development and growth. And when he does touch the floor, again, bit by bit, he's going to keep improving. And hopefully he plays a little more minutes than he played last year, but he's clearly, I think everyone thought he was going to come back and be a starter. I didn't see the guy for 6 months of the offseason till he came back, a couple of weeks beforehand. And the improvement of my team to the improvement of Kai wasn't on the same path. But I didn't go air all that to everybody, but he is developing in the right way. I think he's really going to help us over the next month or so. And it's unfortunate that, the way that the games went, part of it's in my trust in where we're at as a team and what we need to go and win the game, to not just put him out there just for Kai Sotto to tick over boxes. But he's doing everything. I thought I mentioned in video today of just his impact. And while it was a very short impact, they were winning plays for us. And if you go back and watch Kai Sotto's minutes, you'll understand by taking away 2 baskets, he got knocked on the floor, he got elbowed in the jaw, which, when we were in Darwin, that was a flagrant foul. But he took 2 to the chin. And it's like, look, I'm not here about him crying or complaining. It's about getting back up, making another hit, second efforts for Kai Sotto. Multiple efforts on the defensive end or the offensive end, sprinting up and down the floor, which he's getting better each and every day.
Well, hopefully he can continue in that right trajectory. And likewise with your 36ers, you guys have got the Breakers in Southeast Melbourne this week. So good luck for that and also for the rest of the season. And thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Time now for Points Made thanks to UPCOZ. Head to upcoz.com for a look at their markets, especially in the NBA, which is what we're talking about today. Dee, I've got to ask you about Philadelphia. They went down to the Spurs, but it was kind of the way in which they did it. Joel Embiid looked like he didn't give it rats out there. And from an Aussie point of view, Matisse Thybulle isn't in the rotation. What's going on?
Well, first, I think with Joel Embiid, he doesn't look to be in the same type of shape that he was coming into last season, which is very surprising because I had him down as the leader in terms of winning the MVP this season. Look, the voters are tired of Jokic. They're tired of Giannis. So it's only right that if Embiid did his part and came out strong. Now, he has had a 40-point game, so let's not get too carried away, and it still is early. But I thought that he would be physically in a lot better condition, like James Harden is. James Harden actually looks really good. Now, to answer the second part of your question about Matisse Thybulle, I just think maybe his time is done there, Joe. They need perimeter shooting. They've got a guy who they're paying a lot of money to in Tobias Harris. And I think they really want to showcase him because I believe there'll be a trade in the offing before the trade deadline to try and get Tobias Harris out of there. So right now, there just aren't enough minutes for Thibault out there.
Derek, did you just say that you're sick of Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo?
No, I didn't say I am. I said the voters are. Now, remember, Michael Jordan didn't even win the MVP every year. Michael Jordan never won it 3 years in a row. I believe the only people to have done that are Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Larry Bird. So, it's a very difficult thing to do. Voters get fatigued with the MVP guy over and over.
Yeah, okay, we'll see what happens. Maddie, what do you think about Philly?
Yeah, look, any side that's got James Harden, I know he looks good to start the season, but any team with James Harden in there, I'm just got concerns. Quite culturally, I just don't think it works. And I think Doc Rivers is clearly frustrated. He'd be a hard guy to coach, and I think we saw that at Brooklyn.
Speaking about a team that is struggling with culture, the Lakers. Derek, LeBron James, I feel like he's done everything he possibly can out there, but he is definitely starting to show frustration.
And it's a shame, Joe, because at 37, he's playing outstanding basketball. He can really still drive a team to a championship, given that the players around him are of a suitable talent and are inspired to play good basketball. Now, I've got some question marks about the latter for some of their players. And some of this also falls, Matt, on the Lakers organization. They've got to make a move. They've had plenty of time to deal with the Westbrook situation. It's getting really toxic there, and I just don't see who the winners are here. There's word that the Lakers are waiting upon some guys from other teams to perhaps show displeasure with their current situation so they can pounce and maybe get them at a cheaper rate. But right now, this looks really, really bad for the Lakers organization.
No, absolutely do. Like, they've got to get rid of Westbrook. He's making excuses about not being in team huddles and all this sorts of stuff. There's a clear disconnect there. And the Lakers need three-point shooting. I think there's a stat this morning, 25 from 118 from three-point land. Wow. No matter how good LeBron is, the Lakers need changes and quick.
Shout out to Dame Lillard, 41 points leading the Blazers this morning, though. The Orlando Magic had their 5th highest crowd in franchise history. It was a smidge under 20,000. Those guys are excited about the likes of Paolo Banchero, Cole Anthony, Franz Wagner, those kind of guys. Dee, is it worth really getting behind this side?
Hey, they've got a fantastic 1-2 punch in Wagner and Banchero. I mean, already we see how dominant a player that Banchero is going to be. Great athleticism, a man's body already at a very, very young age. And the good part is he's getting to go out there and experience failure and how to bounce back. And I think Jamal Mosley, an NBL alum also, he's got a very good reputation in terms of his development of young players. And I think he's a player's coach. So, I mean, it's been a long time for Orlando since Dwight Howard days, Joe. You probably weren't even watching the NBA back when Dwight Howard was playing for Orlando.
I remember old school Dwight Howard. I used to love him. Maddie, they are 0-3 on the season, though.
Yeah, I think we need to be realistic about that. There is excitement for the future. I'm probably a bit biased. They were playing the Boston Celtics in that game, so maybe a few Celtics fans in the building. But I think there's a reason for them to be optimistic because for so long, as you rightly point out, Derek, you're going back to the Shaq days almost, that they just have not been good for a long time. So they deserve a bit of success.
Right, we're getting in trouble. We've definitely run overtime again. Maddie, thank you for being in the hot seat today, though.
Oh, pleasure. I just kept it warm for Shane.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's been great. It's been great. Thank you also to our sponsors, as always, TCL Mobile, 2K23 and UPCOZ. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.